Hello there, and welcome to the 51st subscriber special of Electric Sheep. Um, I didn't really have too much planned, even though this is our 51 subscriber special. I just wanted to thank everybody for subscribing once again, and I wanted to just make it clear that I'm open to all kinds of suggestions and criticisms on my videos. I'm uh, I'm not a stone. Things can be changed. Not that things can't be changed on a stone. Maybe that was a stupid thing to say. Um, but anyways, since I didn't have very much extra to do for this special episode, let's just get on with the story. So, without any further delay, this is Yard Hermits.
Yard Hermits. Before they were called Yard Hermits, before the brochures and treaties and glossy VR tours, the Madood were refugees of a lost biosphere, a species uprooted not by war or conquest, but by collapse. Their homeworld, Lithura, was a place of gentle dampness and soft light. Fungus forests spread across the continent's spanning wetlands, and the Madood thrived in their shaded hollows and glowing root caverns. The Madood stood no taller than 6 inches. Their biology was delicate, their culture symbiotic, rooted literally in the fungal organisms that formed both shelter and sustenance. They were not expansionist. They were never meant to leave. But Lithura died, slowly like a tree drying from the inside out. A biochemical chain reaction triggered by an introduced mold burned through the fungal forests. Entire generations of Madood perished, their homes turning to ash. The last spores of Lithura were sealed in crystalline canisters and carried aboard refugee ships, delicate vessels designed by alien sympathizers who had studied the Madood but never fully grasped them. Earth was not their first stop, but it was the first world that smelled like home. The damp soil, the shade beneath human gardens, the chaotic diversity of fungal life. It was imperfect, but it was possible. Tasha! The Great Trampling. When the first Madood settled in the Pacific Northwest and parts of rural Europe, they built their domed mushroom dwellings in unclaimed woodlands and in the neglected corners of human gardens. They believed the vastness of Earth would protect them. But humans and the alien settlers who followed are wanderers, stumblers, sightseers. Hikers crushed spore barns without noticing. Children pulled up mushroom roofs thinking they were toys. Influencers filmed entire vlogs from atop sacred Madood ground. Entire colonies were decimated beneath lawnmowers, drones, and curiosity. They sang for mercy, one witness said. The Madood have a song that stops the wind in your ears. You don't forget it. I didn't understand until I saw a child collect their homes like bottle caps. Despite dozens of complaints, the early governments considered Madood settlements too small to register on official maps. Unincorporated organic clusters. That was the term, not citizens, not even beings, until the Cultural Representation Accord of 2167. A culture made visible. The accord was championed by the CRD, Cultural Representation Directorate, an interspecies coalition of sociologists, artists, and bioethnographers. They fought not just for Madood protection, but for recognition. The marketing campaign was strange, but it worked. Madood settlements were reframed not as nuisances, but as living cultural sanctuaries. Affluent landowners were encouraged to donate land parcels in exchange for ecotourism tax credits and prestige. You don't own a lawn, you own a legacy. Madood settlements were called living groves. Their mushroom spires grew in carefully shaded clearings. Their bioluminescent rituals were live streamed by drone, at a respectful distance. Each grove was assigned a cultural guardian, a human or alien appointed by the CRD, trained in Madood etiquette, fluent in their musical language. The Madood sing their laws, said Guardian Petra Doe, who hosted a protected grove on her estate in British Columbia. They have no need for jails or punishment. Every new song is a binding agreement. Every mushroom ring is a communal story. Another settler, Theombayu, donated 5 acres of family land in Mali. They built a spiral that follows the movement of the moon, he said. It smells like home. My grandmother says the ancestors would have approved. The hermits who bloom today, there are 1,632 recognized Madood groves on Earth. Some are small, barely a dozen residents beneath a rosemary bush. Others are vast living labyrinths, winding beneath old-growth forests. Children are taught in luminescent caves. Council rings bloom overnight when decisions must be made. Some critics call them yard hermits, dismissing them as decorative curiosities. But those who live beside them understand. Hermits they may be, but only in scale, not in spirit. As CRD agent Lu Shen put it in her report, to call the Madud hermits is to misunderstand solitude. They do not reject the world. They shape their part of it with patience, song, and spores. And what blossoms in that stillness is not isolation, but a culture resilient enough to bloom beneath our very feet. And perhaps that is the truest contradiction of all, that a people so small, so hidden, have reminded Earth what it means to coexist, quietly, deeply, without conquest.
Well, I really like the way that turned out. Um, but yeah, as it is stated in the story, they're not really hermits, but I I love the term yard hermit, and so it got written in there. So you can say they have to be kind of separate, like a hermit. Their cultures, anyways, but individually they are not hermits. They live in communities. They're not lone individuals by any means, but they also had to be incorporated a little bit in order to not be disregarded and destroyed out of just callous uncaring from the surroundings. Um, I guess it's just a matter of how you package something where originally they weren't accepted because they were just too small to categorize. But once they were recognized for their cultural significance, they had something to sell themselves on. And maybe they shouldn't have to sell themselves on anything, but you got to do what you got to do to survive. And living on somebody else's property was their way of surviving. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story, and as always, I wish you all the luck in the world, and I want you to remember that I love you. This has been Joseph Arthur Roszell, thanking you.